The night was silent. The moon was high in the sky, and the little village lay asleep under its silver light. The trees around the village stood tall and heavy with ripe fruits. To humans, these fruits were food, simple and sweet. But tonight they were more than food. They were bait. From the dark sky, a strange ship moved quietly. Its body was black like a shadow, and no human eye noticed it. The ship landed far away in the field without sound. Its doors opened and the visitors stepped out. They were not human. Their skin was pale blue, their arms long, their eyes sharp and glowing. They moved with pride, their steps heavy, their voices low but full of laughter. These were not simple travelers. These were raiders, aliens who searched the stars for weak worlds to mock and steal from. They looked at the village and laughed. "Is this the human world?" one asked, his voice full of scorn. "Yes," another replied, "a world of soft flesh and weak bones. They eat fruits like children. They are nothing." The group moved closer to the village, their sharp claws ready. They were not here to fight. No, they were here to play. To them, humans were not a danger. Humans were a joke. They reached the first tree. Its branches were heavy with golden fruits glowing softly in the moonlight. The leader reached up and pulled one down. He took a bite. Juice ran down his chin. "Sweet," he said with mockery. "So this is the treasure of humans, a fruit? How weak." The others laughed and began to pluck more. They stuffed their bags, filling them with fruits as if it was a game. Some climbed the trees, breaking branches and shaking the fruit loose. The ground was soon covered with fallen fruit rolling like small suns. But in the shadows of the village, someone was watching. An old woman, bent with age, stood by her small house. Her eyes were not weak, though her body was frail. She had seen many nights, many dangers, and she knew when something was wrong. Tonight she felt it in her bones. She watched as the strange figures stole the fruits, laughing at her people, mocking their world. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She leaned on her stick, but her heart was steady. "They think we are weak," she whispered to herself. "But they do not know." The aliens did not notice her at first. They were too busy laughing, too busy crushing fruits under their feet. They pointed at the houses, whispering about the humans inside. "Shall we wake them?" one asked with a cruel smile. "No," the leader said. "Not yet. Let them sleep. Let them wake and find their food gone. Let them know they are too weak to stop us." Their laughter filled the night. The old woman stepped forward. Her feet dragged slightly, her steps slow, but her voice carried strength. "Stop." The word was simple yet sharp. The aliens froze for a moment. They turned, and when they saw her, they burst into laughter again. "Look," one shouted. "A human dares to speak. And not just any human," another added. "An old one. Fragile as dry wood." They mocked her, pointing, their voices loud. But the woman did not move back. She looked at them with calm eyes. "You think humans are weak?" she said, her voice steady. "But you are wrong." The aliens stared at her, confused for a moment. Then their leader stepped forward, towering over her. "Old woman," he said with scorn, "what will you do? You have no claws, no weapons. You can barely stand. We take your fruits and you can do nothing." The others laughed again, but there was a pause. Something in the woman's eyes made the leader frown. She was not afraid. The old woman leaned on her stick and looked at the fruits they had stolen. Her lips curved into the smallest smile. "You stole the wrong fruits," she whispered. The words were soft, but they carried weight. The aliens blinked, unsure. What did she mean? They looked at the fruits in their hands, glowing under the moonlight. A strange unease stirred among them. The old woman did not speak again. She only stood silent, her eyes fixed on them. The night air grew heavy. The laughter of the aliens faded slowly, replaced by doubt. The audience now wonders, what is special about these fruits? Why is the old woman not afraid? What will happen next? The night was no longer silent. It was waiting. The aliens stood in the moonlight, their claws holding the golden fruits, their faces full of mockery. They had laughed at her words, but the old woman had not moved. Her small figure stood like a shadow against the houses behind her. Her hair was silver, her back bent, her hands thin and bony. Yet her eyes, dark, sharp, and unblinking, were stronger than any weapon. She looked not at their bodies, not at their claws or glowing eyes, but at their pride. And her calmness cut deeper than a blade. The leader sneered. "You speak boldly for one so weak. What are these fruits that you protect with your trembling bones?" The old woman leaned on her wooden stick. She did not shout. She did not beg. Her voice came low and steady. These fruits are not yours, and they are not as simple as you believe. The aliens burst into laughter again, their voices echoing across the sleeping village. Some bit deeper into the fruit, letting juice spill down their chins on purpose just to mock her. Sweet, sweet and soft, just like humans. One cried. Is this what you guard so dearly, old one? Food fit for children? Another added, but their laughter soon faded. One of them coughed. Another dropped his fruit, clutching his stomach. The leader frowned and turned, watching his soldiers sway unsteadily. What is this? He growled. The old woman's lips curved into the faintest smile. You stole the wrong fruits, she said again, but louder this time. The aliens' mocking eyes narrowed. They looked again at the glowing fruits in their hands. The sweetness on their tongues had turned bitter. The glow of the fruit under the moonlight seemed brighter, almost alive. You lie, the leader spat, though his own chest felt heavy. What trick is this? No trick, the old woman replied. Humans survive because we learn. We grow things not just for taste, but for survival. These fruits were not grown for you. Her words made the air heavier. The aliens began to whisper to each other. Some looked uneasy, their pride shaken. For the first time, they wondered if the frail creature before them knew something they did not. The leader stepped closer, towering above her, his glowing eyes full of anger. He leaned down, his face close to hers. You think you can frighten us with your stories? You are one and we are many. What can you do? The old woman did not blink. It is not what I can do, she answered, her voice like steel, but what you have already done to yourselves. Behind her, the houses stirred. A window opened. A child peered out with wide eyes before being pulled back by her mother. A man stepped into the street holding a torch. More doors opened and more villagers appeared, some with fear in their eyes, some with anger. The aliens noticed. Their laughter returned, though weaker this time. More humans. You bring your people to us. What will they do with sticks and fire? You are no warriors. You are prey. But the old woman did not answer them. She turned slightly, her voice carrying to the villagers. Do not fear. Watch and remember. Tonight they will learn who we are. The villagers stood frozen, torn between fear and trust. They had known the woman all their lives. She was the oldest among them, the keeper of stories, the one who remembered times before theirs. If she said to wait, they would wait. The aliens began to shift uneasily. Their claws tightened on the fruits, but none dared to eat again. Their bodies were beginning to betray them. Slow weakness in their limbs, strange heat in their blood. The leader snarled, unwilling to admit fear. He raised his weapon, a blade that shimmered with alien light, and pointed it at her. Enough of this. You will kneel, human. Kneel before your betters. The old woman's laugh was soft, almost kind, but it froze their hearts. Betters? She repeated. You who cannot tell poison from sweetness? You who think strength is only in the arm, not the mind? You are children who came to steal from a house you do not understand. Her words stung worse than any wound. The villagers gasped, their fear slowly turning to courage. Some lifted their torches higher. Others gripped stones and sticks, their eyes watching the aliens closely. The old woman had not raised a hand, but already the balance of the night was shifting. The leader tried to speak, but his voice broke into a cough. He staggered back, clutching his chest. His soldiers followed, their bodies trembling. The fruits they had mocked were now their chains. The old woman did not move closer. She only raised her voice, calm and clear. You thought humans weak because we eat fruits. But those fruits hold more than sweetness. They hold the will of survival. You laughed at us, but now you will learn. The aliens hissed in pain, their pride crumbling, and as they looked at the old woman, standing so small yet so unshaken, they began to understand. This was not a frail creature. This was a guardian. The night had changed. The aliens stood hunched, their pride shaken but not destroyed. Their glowing eyes narrowed as the strange heat grew inside them. They had mocked the old woman, but her words still echoed in their minds. You stole the wrong fruits. The leader gritted his teeth. His pride would not allow fear. He straightened, forcing strength into his trembling body. He pointed a sharp claw at the old woman. You think you have beaten us with fruit? He hissed. You think humans are clever? You are dust under our feet. We take what we want. Nothing can stop us. The old woman leaned on her stick, steady as stone. Her gaze did not waver. You believe power is only in strength of body. You are wrong. Power comes from the mind, from the will to survive. That is why humans endure when greater creatures fall. Her words stung like fire against their pride. The leader snarled, his voice louder now, as if he wished to drown out his own fear. Then prove it, human. If you think your people strong, challenge us. Show us your power if you dare. The villagers behind her gasped. Some whispered in fear. Challenge aliens with what? They had no weapons of metal, no ships, no armor. All they had were torches, stones, and faith in the old woman. But she did not hesitate. Her lips curved into a smile, not warm but sharp, the smile of one who knows a secret. Very well, she said. You will have your challenge. The aliens laughed again, though weaker this time. Their leader waved his hand, forcing his soldiers to stand tall despite the sickness in their veins. Yes, let us see what your people can do. Will you fight us with your sticks? Will you throw your fire at the sky? The old woman shook her head. Not tonight. A fight with blades and fire is too easy. You mock us as weak? Then you will face us not in strength, but in survival. You will face the very land you stand on. Confusion rippled through the aliens. The land? One muttered. What trick is this? Asked another. The old woman raised her stick and tapped it against the ground. You will walk into the forest beyond these fields. If you return before sunrise, you may keep your pride. If you fail, you will leave this place and never return. The leader laughed, but it was hollow. The forest? We are hunters. We cross worlds. You think trees will stop us? But his soldiers shifted uneasily. They had seen the glow of the fruits. They had tasted the sickness in their blood. Now the old woman spoke of the land as if it too had power. The villagers began to murmur among themselves. Some looked afraid, others hopeful. The challenge was strange, but they trusted her. She had survived longer than any of them. If she said the forest held answers, then it must. The leader stepped closer until his shadow fell over her. You risk much, old one. If we return, we will not just take fruits. We will take everything. Your homes, your people, your world. The woman did not blink. And if you do not return? She asked softly. The leader growled but did not answer. He turned, barking orders at his soldiers. We will walk your forest. When we return, your people will kneel. With that, the aliens moved toward the tree line, their bodies tall and glowing against the dark. They entered the forest with loud voices, mocking still, though their steps carried unease. The villagers rushed to the old woman. Why did you do this? A young man asked. What if they return? They will not, the old woman replied. But how can you be sure? Another cried. Because the forest remembers, she whispered. The villagers fell silent. They knew stories of the forest, stories of strange lights, hidden paths, and creatures that did not sleep. Few went deep and fewer returned. The forest was not just trees and shadows. It was alive, watching, waiting. The old woman turned to them, her face calm but firm. You must not follow. Let them face it alone. The land will test them, and the land never shows mercy. The villagers obeyed, though fear lingered in their hearts. They gathered close, holding their torches, eyes fixed on the forest. The night grew heavier, the silence broken only by the distant echoes of alien laughter. But the old woman heard more than laughter. She heard the whisper of the trees, the rustle of hidden creatures, the pulse of the earth itself. The forest was awake. It had accepted the challenge. Hours stretched like shadows. The aliens' laughter faded deeper into the woods. Then came cries, shouts of anger, then pain, then silence. The villagers shivered, but the old woman stood unmoved. At last the forest was quiet again. The moon sank lower and the edge of dawn touched the horizon. Still no alien returned. The old woman raised her eyes to the pale light of morning. Her voice was soft, but all who stood near heard it clearly. They thought us weak. They thought survival was only strength of body. But survival is knowing when to fight and when to let the world fight for you. The villagers bowed their heads, not in fear, but in respect. The old woman had set the challenge, and the land had answered. The aliens had walked into the forest. And the forest had kept them. The forest swallowed the aliens whole. Their glowing eyes had shone like fireflies between the trees, then vanished into darkness. The villagers waited at the edge of the fields, torches burning low, fear thick in the air. Only the old woman stood calm, her hand resting on her wooden stick. Time dragged. First came laughter, loud and cruel, echoing through the night. Then came shouts sharp and angry. Soon after, the sounds turned to screams. The villagers trembled, but the old woman did not move. Her eyes stayed fixed on the forest. At last, silence. The leader of the villagers, a broad-shouldered farmer, turned to her. "What have you done?" he whispered. The old woman's lips curved into a thin smile. "I did nothing. The forest did what it always does. It protects." The villagers exchanged uneasy looks. They knew the forest. They had always known. Strange lights flickered between its trees, shadows that moved without wind and whispers that spoke in voices not human. Children were warned never to wander too deep. Hunters who ignored the warning never returned. But tonight was different. Tonight the forest was not a warning. It was a weapon. The villagers gasped as figures stumbled from the trees. The aliens had returned, but they were not as they had entered. Their tall bodies now leaned weakly, their steps clumsy, their glowing eyes dim. Their once proud claws dripped with sap and blood. Leaves and vines clung to their skin, as if the forest itself had tried to hold them. The leader of the aliens staggered into the moonlight, his breath ragged. His once gleaming armor was cracked, his chest marked with long scratches. His soldiers followed behind him, fewer than before. The villagers stared. The aliens were not invincible. They bled, they tired, they feared. The old woman stepped forward, her shadow stretching long in the torchlight. "You walked into the forest thinking you were hunters. You came out prey," the alien leader growled weakly. "Tricks, shadows, this forest. It lies." "No," the old woman said, her voice calm but heavy. "The forest shows truth. You wanted a challenge. You got one. And you lost." The aliens hissed in protest, but their bodies betrayed them. Their skin had grown pale, their movements slow. Some clutched their stomachs, groaning. The villagers realized the sickness from the stolen fruits had not faded. It had grown worse. The old woman raised her stick, pointing at the half-empty bags the aliens carried. "The fruits were not meant for you. They are gifts of the land to us alone. To others they bring poison. To you they bring weakness." The leader's eyes widened, anger mixing with fear. "You fed us poison?" "No," she answered coldly. "You fed yourselves. You were greedy. You thought humans soft, our food simple. You mocked what you did not understand, and now it burns inside you." The soldiers muttered in panic. Some dropped their bags, spilling the glowing fruit onto the ground. The golden skins cracked, releasing a sharp, bitter scent that no longer smelled sweet. The villagers murmured, wonder mixing with pride. The old woman had not lied. The fruits themselves had been the first trap. The forest had been the second. The alien leader staggered forward, his claws trembling as he pointed at her. "This is not over, human. You think you are clever, but we are not finished. We will—" His words broke into a cough. He fell to one knee, his strength leaving him. His soldiers rushed to help, but their bodies were failing too. The old woman stepped closer, her voice clear. "You will leave. You will crawl back to the stars you came from. And when you tell your people of Earth, you will tell them this. Humans are not weak. We endure. We fight in ways you cannot see." The villagers cheered, their fear lifting, courage filling their hearts. For the first time they saw the aliens not as gods of the sky, but as creatures who could bleed, stumble, and fall. The alien leader looked up at the old woman, his pride broken, his body shaking. His glowing eyes flickered like dying embers. "You are nothing," he whispered. The old woman leaned closer, her voice sharp as a blade. "Nothing can outlast everything. And humans are everything you fear." Her words struck deeper than any weapon. The aliens lowered their heads, too weak to answer. Their laughter was gone, replaced by silence heavy with defeat. The villagers stepped forward, holding their torches high, surrounding the invaders. The flames lit the night, their shadows dancing across the field. The aliens were trapped not by weapons, but by truth itself. The old woman raised her hand. "Go, leave while you can. But know this, you did not lose to one old woman. You lost to all of us. You lost to the land, to the fruits, to the forest, to the spirit of humans. And if you return, you will lose again." The leader's face twisted with rage and shame. But he could not fight. Slowly he rose with the help of his soldiers. Broken and humiliated, they stumbled back toward their ship. The villagers watched, their torches held high until the black ship lifted into the night sky and vanished into the stars. The old woman lowered her stick. The fields were quiet again, but not the same. Tonight humans had faced the hunters from the stars, and tonight the hunters had learned fear. The black ship was gone, but the night was not finished. The villagers stood in the fields, torches still burning, hearts still racing. They had seen the aliens stumble into the forest. They had watched them crawl out, broken and weak. They had heard their leader's words turn to silence, but the old woman did not smile. Her sharp eyes stayed fixed on the stars. "They will return," she whispered. The villagers stirred uneasily. "Return, but they are beaten," a man said. The old woman shook her head. "Pride does not die so easily. They will come again, not tonight, but soon. They will come with fire, with blades, with hate, and when they do, you must be ready." The villagers fell silent. They had no great weapons, no shining machines. They were farmers, woodcutters, mothers, children. What could they do against creatures from the sky? But the old woman lifted her stick and pointed at them one by one. "Strength is not in the weapon. Strength is in the hands that hold it. You think yourselves weak because you have only stones and fire. But fire burns. Stones break. And courage can shatter even pride." Her words were simple, yet they struck deep. The villagers felt something stir inside them, something older than fear. They began to stand taller. They gripped their torches more firmly. That night the old woman gathered them in the center of the village. The fires burned bright and the stars above seemed to listen. "Humans have always been tested," she said. "Storms try to drown us. Beasts try to eat us. Hunger tries to starve us. Yet still we live. Why? Because we stand together. Because no fear can break us when we fight as one." The villagers nodded, their eyes burning with new light. Even the children listened, their fear turning into awe. Then the old woman looked at the trees. "The forest protected us tonight. But next time it will be us. We must show them that humans are not prey. We are hunters too." The next days were filled with work. Men and women trained with what they had. Sticks became spears. Stones became slings. Nets were woven tighter. Ropes knotted stronger. Fire was studied not just for warmth but as a weapon. Smoke was tested. Ash spread to choke the air. The villagers discovered something new each day. One man learned that oil from tree resin burned longer and brighter than dry wood. A boy discovered that slings could throw stones farther than hands. A woman found that sharp bone could cut as well as any blade. The old woman watched and guided, her voice steady. She did not lift heavy things, but she lifted spirits. When someone grew tired, she reminded them, "Your body may fail, but your will must not." When someone doubted, she said, "Fear is a guest. Do not let it stay." And slowly the village changed. At night they stood guard together, their torches glowing like stars on earth. By day they trained, their voices calling in rhythm, their laughter chasing away fear. The children no longer hid inside. They carried small sticks and copied their elders, shouting with joy as they pretended to fight. The sound of their play gave strength to all. The old woman knew the aliens watched from above. She could feel their eyes in the sky, waiting, planning. But she also knew what the aliens could not see, the heart of humans. Weeks later, the night sky cracked with light again. The black ship returned, larger this time, its engines roaring. The villagers did not run. They stood in the fields with their torches raised high, their faces set with iron will. The ship landed with fury, crushing crops beneath its weight. Its doors opened wide and more aliens marched out, twice as many as before. Their leader had returned, his pride burning hotter than ever. He pointed his blade at the villagers. "Fools, you dare stand before us again? We will burn your homes. We will break your bones. Tonight you will kneel." But no villager knelt. Not one. The old woman stepped forward, her stick in her hand, her eyes blazing. "You came once and you laughed. You came again and you bled. Now you come once more thinking we are the same as before. But we have learned. And you will learn too." The aliens laughed, but uneasily. The villagers did not tremble. They did not hide. They stood shoulder to shoulder, fire and stone in hand. The air itself seemed to thrum with courage. The leader raised his blade. "Attack!" And the field erupted. Villagers hurled stones that cracked against alien armor. Spears of wood pierced through the gaps. Nets of rope and vine tangled claws and legs. Fire spread fast, burning brighter than the aliens expected. Smoke rose thick, choking their eyes and throats. The aliens struck back with their strength, but every time one villager fell, another rose. Every cry of pain was drowned by 3 cries of defiance. The old woman moved among them, her voice rising like thunder. "Stand together. Do not fear. They bleed as we do." And the villagers saw it was true. The aliens bled. They coughed. They stumbled. Against unity, their strength was nothing. The night became fire and stone, courage and cries. The aliens had thought humans weak, but in that field, under that sky, they learned the truth. Human strength was not in muscle, but in unity and spirit, in the will to fight even when defeat seemed certain. The villagers did not win the battle that night, not fully. But they did not lose either. They stood unbroken, their fire burning against the dark. And in the eyes of the aliens for the first time was not pride, not laughter, but fear. The field burned with firelight. Smoke twisted into the night sky, carrying the shouts of humans and the cries of aliens. The villagers had fought with courage, but courage alone would not be enough. The aliens were stronger, their claws sharper, their skin tougher. The old woman knew this. She stood tall in the chaos, her voice rising above the clash. Strength is theirs. But the mind is ours, use it. The villagers understood. This was not just a fight of arms. It was a test of wits. A group of men rushed toward the river at the edge of the village. They carried torches, throwing them into the dry reeds. Smoke thickened, rolling back toward the field. The aliens coughed, their glowing eyes dimmed by the black haze. Others dragged nets woven of vine and rope. They threw them wide, tangling alien legs. Each time one alien broke free, 2 more nets flew. The villagers moved like hunters, circling prey far larger than themselves. The aliens slashed with claws, but the villagers did not meet them with equal strength. Instead, they struck where it hurt most. They aimed for the eyes, the joints, the weak spots. Sharp stones flew from slings, whistling through the air before cracking against armor. Spears jabbed low, hitting knees and ankles. The old woman watched, her eyes sharp. "Strike where they do not guard," she shouted, and the villagers obeyed. They did not waste blows on thick skin or heavy claws. They fought with patience, with precision. Every strike was chosen, every move planned. The alien leader roared in fury. His pride had been wounded once, and he would not allow it again. He raised his glowing blade, cutting through nets, scattering villagers. Smoke curled around him, firelight gleamed on his pale skin. "Humans are insects," he bellowed. "You cannot win." But even as he shouted, he stumbled. His foot sank into soft earth. The villagers had dug pits during the day, shallow but hidden under loose grass. His leg sank, slowing him just long enough for 3 villagers to rush forward, hurling burning resin onto his armor. Flames leapt high, and though he roared and tore it free, his pride burned hotter than the fire. The villagers cheered. Their fear was gone now, replaced by cunning. They moved not like prey, but like hunters who knew every shadow of their land. Women carried pots of ash and hurled them into the air. The black dust blinded alien eyes, choking their lungs. Children darted between legs, quick as rabbits, throwing stones before vanishing into smoke. The aliens swung wildly, their strength wasted on empty air. The old woman's voice rang out again. "They think us weak because we are small. But small things cut deepest. Small things break the mighty. And indeed, the small things made the difference. A sharp stone to the temple, a tripwire hidden in grass, a torch dropped at the right moment. The aliens bled from 1,000 small wounds, each one a whisper of defeat. The leader fought harder, his fury endless. He slashed at the air, his glowing blade tearing through smoke. But even his power could not touch the unity before him. A boy no older than 10 hurled a stone that cracked against his head. He staggered. An old man swung a burning branch that scorched his skin. A mother threw sand into his eyes. Every villager fought, not with strength but with wit. The leader fell to one knee, panting, his pride crumbling. He looked around and saw his soldiers beaten, tangled, blinded, burned. Some lay on the ground, unable to rise. Others stumbled toward the ship, broken in spirit. The villagers closed in, a circle of fire around the last of the aliens. Their torches burned bright, their faces hard with resolve. The old woman stepped forward. Her stick tapped against the earth, steady, unshaken. "You came with claws and blades. You thought us insects. But even insects can sting. Even ants can bring down giants." The leader's voice broke, low with rage and disbelief. "You are nothing," the old woman's eyes flashed. "Then nothing has defeated you." The words cut deeper than any stone. The leader looked around, and for the first time he saw not weak humans, but a force he could not overcome. Not because they were stronger, but because they were clever, united and unbroken. The aliens staggered back, retreating toward their ship. Some carried the wounded, others limped with heads bowed. Their leader snarled, but did not strike again. He knew the truth now. He had lost not to weapons, but to wits. The villagers did not chase them. They stood together, torches high, watching as the black ship roared back into the sky. When the smoke cleared, silence returned. The field was broken, but the people were not. They looked to the old woman, their breaths heavy, their bodies sore. She lifted her chin. Remember tonight. Remember this battle. Not for the fire, not for the blood, but for the truth it showed. They had strength. We had minds, and minds win wars. The villagers cheered, their voices rising like thunder. The old woman turned her gaze to the stars where the ship had fled. Her voice lowered, but every ear caught her words. They will return again. And again they will learn. Humans are not weak. Humans are more dangerous than they will ever understand. The villagers stood taller. Their unity had shone brighter than alien claws. Their strength was not muscle, but wit. And that night, under the moon's silver light, the truth was written into the stars. Humans were not prey. Humans were hunters of a different kind. The black ship vanished into the night sky, swallowed by the stars. The fields lay in smoke and ash, yet the villagers stood tall. Their bodies ached, their arms bore bruises, but their eyes burned with pride. They had not knelt. They had not broken. The old woman walked slowly into the center of the field. Her stick tapped against the scorched earth, echoing in the silence. Every villager turned toward her, waiting for her words. She looked at their faces, men and women, old and young, all smeared with soot and sweat. Some carried wounds, others carried fear still in their hearts, but all of them had stood together, and because of that they had won. At last, she spoke. Tonight was not just a battle. Tonight was a lesson. The villagers leaned closer, their torches crackling in the dark. The creatures from the stars thought us weak, she said. They thought we were nothing because our weapons are simple, because our hands are bare, because our lives are humble. But what they did not see, what they could never see, is the fire inside us. She raised her stick to the sky, pointing at the stars where the ship had fled. They came with claws and steel, but they did not understand. Strength is not only in muscle. It is in the will to endure. It is in the mind that plans, in the heart that refuses to bow. The villagers murmured, their pride rising with every word. Humans are not strong because of what we hold, she continued. We are strong because of what we are. We bend, but we do not break. We stumble, but we rise again. We bleed, but we do not surrender. That is our power. That is what they will never take. Her voice grew louder, filling the night. They will tell their kind of this world. They will whisper of an old woman in a small village. And they will remember, humans are not prey. Humans are the danger they never expected. The villagers cheered, their voices rising like thunder across the fields. But the old woman did not smile. Her eyes stayed on the stars. She knew the truth. The aliens would return, perhaps stronger, perhaps with armies and machines. But she also knew that humanity would be ready. Not just her village, but all villages, all towns, all people. The story of this night would spread, and with it courage. She turned back to her people. This was not my victory, she said. This was yours. Every stone you threw, every fire you lit, every step you stood, it was proof. Proof that humans are more than they believe. A boy stepped forward, his face smudged with ash, a sling still hanging from his hand. Grandmother, he asked, will they come again? The old woman bent down, her eyes soft but steady. Yes, child. They will come, but when they do, they will find us waiting, and they will find us ready. The boy nodded, his fear melting into pride. The villagers gathered closer, forming a circle around her. Firelight flickered on their faces, shadows dancing like spirits on the earth. The night was no longer heavy with fear. It was alive with strength. One by one, they raised their torches high until the whole field blazed with human fire. Against the dark of the sky, it looked like a second constellation. A message written in flame. We endure. The old woman lifted her stick once more, her voice strong though her body was frail. Let them call us weak. Let them laugh. But when they return, they will not find weakness. They will find a world of fire, of stone, of hearts that do not bow. They will find humans. The villagers roared with approval, their torches waving, their spirits unbroken. And so the night ended, not in silence but in strength. The aliens had left, but their defeat was not just in body, it was in spirit. For they had come to mock, and they had left in fear. The old woman lowered her eyes, a quiet smile finally touching her lips. She whispered, almost to herself, they thought humans were weak when they stole fruits. But tonight they learned, we are more than they can ever imagine. The wind carried her words into the night, into the trees, into the stars themselves. Above, the heavens were endless, full of dangers yet to come. But the villagers no longer looked at the sky with fear. They looked at it with fire in their hearts, for they had learned the final lesson. Humans may be small. Humans may be fragile, but humans are never weak.